Look, here is the thing about universal development. All things begin as a point, a central focal point, and then they vibrate, okay? Oh, they vibrate, shake, shake, shake. So basically, what happened at the very beginning of time is that something exploded. And that's pretty much where scientists end their speculation. Mine goes like this. If you can actually picture the dynamics of an explosion that has perfect resistance because there's no air, distribution, there's no all that nonsense, what would happen is it would go outward in a sphere, but then as soon as its contents were done being thrust from that center focal point, there would be a latency, but eventually they would reach the, outer limits of what is space-time. And everything left, and there's a bifurcation which means a splitting, which we see in amoebas, which is their first level of awareness, because what happens is the word bifurcation, by the way, means like one becoming two. So basically what happens is you have the center and then you have the outside limit, okay? So in a two-dimensional shape, you have parameters of, length and width. And in a three-dimensional shape, you have parameters of positioning, okay? So if a cube is spinning, every time one of its faces lines up with your first-person perspective, all you're gonna see is a square. So this is where the holographic principle comes in. It should be such that all the information encoded on the surface of a square can tell you A, that it's actually just the face of a cube, and B, properties of that cube. So, all things follow the developmental process of the universe itself, okay? And the only things that I'm certain of are things exist beyond physics, and death is the beginning. So outside of the sphere, is what we're talking about when we die. Because even if there was a point that existed that was everything, well, where was it? Where was it? Or are time and space a result of its evolutionary process? There should be an outside of the explosion face, and there should be an inside of the explosion face, and time should separate the two. But things should exist way, way out there, and this is the center of you. The universe is a soup of ambiguity, and so all that's measurable is what's observable from a first-person standpoint anyway. I mean, you can go ask somebody who's standing over there, but that's not going to make much of a difference. You know what I'm saying? Infinity surrounds you, and it's a levels-based system. And there are chakras that follow the same toroidal pattern. Because basically what you have is this sphere that expands all the way, and eventually, how it becomes the outside of itself. There's an opening that happens that connects where the focal point was with the outside of what is now a toroid. It went from a sphere to a toroid. It went from a dot to a circle to a sphere to a toroid. It became hyperdimensional. And if you think about religious implications, You have Da Vinci's painting of David, in the Sistine Chapel, where he literally used the golden ratio to measure where he was going to paint the spark of life. You know what I mean? The space between God's hand and David. And the sequence of the Da Vinci spiral is just basically taking where you are, and it becomes now where you are from where you were, and you move forward like the coil of a snake, you know what I'm saying? And this pattern is in, everything that happens, is my point.